Nearly 6 in 10 workers say they feel burned out, and that is a higher proportion than felt burned out during the pandemic. Mike Rowe is with us. Now, he's the dirty jobs guy, but he's prepared to answer questions on this. Mike Rowe, welcome to the program. Why is burnout worse now than during the pandemic?
I'll tell you, I don't think, and this is controversial, I always get pushback, but I'll just say it. Why is burnout always blamed on the work? Why is it blamed on the job? I mean, it's so baked into the conversation, we rarely step back to say, hold on, you're really talking about job satisfaction. And if you set the table with the idea that your satisfaction on the job is going to have everything to do with the job and not the jobber, then you've immediately entered this space where you're going to look around and say, oh, well, you know, work's the problem. That's what we do, by and large, 1,000 different times a day in 1,000 different ways. We blame the work. So why is burnout higher after the pandemic? Whatever the reasons, I wouldn't start with because the work is harder or because the jobs are meaner or the bosses are lousier. I would say that, I don't know, maybe it's your diet. You know, maybe you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe you got problems in the boudoir. I have no idea. But the idea that you go right to the top and start thinking about, oh, well, the problem is work. And then we wonder what's going on with work ethic in this country. Well, that seems to line up, right? If work is the proximate cause of all our misery, then it's going to be the enemy du jour all the time.
Very interesting. I've not heard that one.
Well, I'm a fascinating guy, Stuart.
Yes,
Ask me another question.
I've got a real good one for you.
Okay.
College costs.
Yeah.
Up and up and up and up for years and years and years. I don't think college is worth it. Do you?
Ooh.
Well, you're painting with a broad brush. And if I had to agree or disagree, I would agree. But I would also say that the reason we're in the fix we're in is because we've been saying the same thing to the largest possible group of people for a very long time. We've told an entire generation that the best path for the most people is the most expensive path. And we've also promoted college, not on its merits, but at the expense of every other kind of degree or any kind of certification or training. If you don't go over here, you're going to wind up turning a wrench with some sort of vocational consolation prize. My foundation focuses on the millions of jobs that are available that don't require a four-year degree. We offer a couple $1,000,000 a year in work ethic scholarships. We're doing it right now. These aren't for four-year degrees. And finally, to your point, you're not angry enough about it. Yeah, it's more expensive than it's ever been, but it's also more expensive than healthcare. It's more expensive than real estate. It's more expensive than energy. Never in the history of Western civilization has a thing become more exponentially expensive faster than the cost of a four-year degree.
That's fascinating.
If that doesn't make you angry, then I don't know what the, right? I mean, it's bananas.
Yeah, what the devil's going on? Mike, would you just stay there for a second? I want your response to another story, which Lauren's got, and that is more women are becoming the breadwinner of the family.
Yeah.
Tell me more about
These
that.
are Pew Research numbers. So 16% of women earn the family's main paycheck, right? That percent has tripled in the past 50 years, going back to 1972. 55% of husbands are the breadwinners, but that's down by 35%. So yes, the financial dynamics of the family have underwent this sea change, but the daily responsibilities in the household have not. Translation, women are doing the chores, the laundry, the cooking. You would think I would have a problem with that, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't. I don't have a problem with this.
No.
And I'll tell you why. You know, I have a podcast. We talk about these issues all the time. I think women are being rewarded for being able to multitask the way they do, to be the breadwinner, to take care of the children, to do the laundry and the cooking. We're not burning out. We're able to do it.
You got two guys sitting on either side of you here. First of all, Mike Rowe, respond to what Lauren just had to say.
Look, Nick Eberstadt has a terrific book out called Men Without Work. He makes the point, 7.2 million able-bodied men between the ages of 25 and 54 are not only not working, they're affirmatively not looking. That's never happened before in peacetime in this country. So who's going to pick up the slack? I mean, it's not a trick question. The jobs have to be done. They have to be done. And if we have created a situation where it's possible to simply not work, then people are going to simply not work. It's the fault in our stars, right?
And it's not
so,
good.
of course, somebody's going to do the work. And if it's women, Good on you.
What do you think, Kenny?
Listen, well, I think to that point you're correct, but I have to say something. I do the laundry and I cook and I work. My wife and I share those responsibilities. I love to cook.
Yep.
My mother taught me very well how to take care of myself and do the laundry. So I'm proud to say that my wife and I are very much a team and we very much share all the responsibilities.
Yes.
You're not happy with the division of labor within the average normal family, are you?
No, I'm fine with it, because if I were to say to my husband, I need you to do laundry, he would do it.
He would do it.
He would do it. That's why I'm saying I'm not complaining that maybe some women do more of the household chores, because they have the authority to say, hey, I need your help, and hopefully their partner steps up.
This is one discussion which I've tried to keep out of, and I think I've done a remarkably good job at that,
That's
actually.
right.
Because I think the popular thing to do is to say, well, it's just not fair. Women are so burned out because they're doing all this stuff they don't have to do. Well, maybe that's some women.
Do you do laundry?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
You do?
Yes.
Your own?
Okay.
How do you fold?
Hold on a second. I've got to promote Mike Rowe's show here. We will all be watching How America Works with Mike Rowe on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fox Business Prime. You happy with that there, Rowe?
Yeah, you know what? If I had to add anything, I would just say that half of the people my foundation has helped are women. And the opportunities for women in the trades, never in the history of the country have they been more robust.
I knew I liked you. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rowe.